Hello. I see follower accounts going up. Better do a live stream to bring it back down. If you're new to my channel, welcome to the world's most boring live stream. I will sit here, I will work on stuff, I will have something playing on the TV, and I will ignore you. Mostly. Unless you talk to me, and then I'll start talking back to you, and then it'll just be this whole spiraling thing where I'm just kind of prattling on about nothing. Anyway, welcome. Alrighty. We'll go with this tonight. And yeah, so panic setting in. I have everything happening next month. And yeah, you know, the usual panic. Okay, let's try this. Of course, I hate this. Remember, if you hate this setup as much as I do, I have a camera hold somewhere in my Amazon gift shop wish list. You know.
We're continuing our On the Seas mystery adventure, the return of Obra Dinn. Last time, we frustrated you to no end with our lack of knowledge about the sea, and reminded you very clearly to be patient. Please be patient with us as we, play a game for the first time in a very different game. And a game that none of us had any idea what we were getting into. And it's fun, right? This sort of mystery solving, lore piecing together.
I thought I cleared it off, but I could definitely use a bit more scrubbing.
What we do, across the channels, right? So it's really cool. This part one, basically, is a game where we are investigating the tragedies that befell this ship. And bit by bit, piece by piece, we are trying to figure out what happened to the 60 crew members, one at a time, who they are, and what happened to them. And basically, it's a giant game of Clue, or for all the international viewers out there, Cluedo, which is just fascinating to me. It's a subtle difference that way, but it's like, oh, Cluedo. So, without any further ado,
Cluedo.
Really, this is a long game. It is a thinking game. And it's slower pace. This isn't like title they're like, whoa, fast gameplay. So I'm just gonna hop into it. Ashley and I are gonna talk through it. But I think if we have any hope of making any sort of progress and making it enjoyable for you in the slightest, we should probably hop into gameplay so we can make some modicum of solution happen.
Let's do this, Matt.
Let's. Indeed.
Yes.
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 Okay, so when last we left things off, we were solving the mystery of the Kraken that had attacked everyone. So now we're down here, piecing together the mystery of this guy who got ripped in half while trying to load up a cannon. So let's go back in time. Oh, this is a lot of death. I appreciate it. Oh, you got blasted. Oh yeah, you got blasted asunder, this guy. Ooh, decapitated from the blast, no less. Just across the board. This is why you always gotta make sure that your cannons are secure. Oh man. What you doing, guys? See bad news bears for all of you. Oh, this guy. We still don't really know who he is, but we've solved other mysteries with him so far. We know he was knifed later as part of
Shadow in the bathroom mirror.
I'm suspecting it's mutiny. I'm saying mutiny. I don't know for sure, right? But anytime he's a mystery man. So he was working in cannons. He had a specific job on board. He's like a cannon stuffer. He's cutting cannon stuffing materials.
We need to find the glue.
This is the guy who lost his head. He was decapitated by cannon. Is cannon an option here? Decapitated by cannon.
Where'd it go?
Enemy.
Saw it yesterday. I was looking at it yesterday.
No, wait, no, I want to go back. Hold up. He was cannoned to death. I like it. Technically expired his
Well, I can always just use regular glue, I guess. Okay.
Shot.
Okay, shadow's done.
I would say blasted with a cannon by accident? By whoopsie-daisy? Yeah, by oopsies. By oopsies. Oh, this doesn't look like it was intentional. It really looks like this was not. Look, by beast. The beast cannon thing. Look, there's the beast art. Right, this is a tentacle. The tentacle coming from the outside. So yeah, so he was blasted with a cannon by a beast. Right, Kraken used the cannon in bowels of ship.
Who's underneath that though?
This must be the other guy who died, right? This guy was crushed by cannon, right? This is the other guy?
I hear so.
Can't really zoom that up. He's the person. But the fact that he's being listed as a death in this memory, you can see that, yeah, that's the other one. So this guy was crushed by a loose cannon. Right? I mean, technically he was crushed by a cannon by a beast. I mean, if we're being fully accurate with what happened here.
Isn't it tentacle?
Yeah, you see the suckers?
Oh yeah.
The like little yeah, they're there.
Yep, for sure.
Oh shit, this is the guy. Must be right. Oh, there you go. Oh, I got a shot of his face. Wait, this is different. This guy. That is not him. Hold up. Yeah. So that's not him. This is actually wrong. Oh no. So we don't know. So we haven't met his death yet. So who else died in this memory then? This guy. Where are you at? Where's that right now? Shoot, I'm still trying to figure out, like, what is the proper way to find out the information about important memory. Depicted in Under's Away. He's here. Oh, hello. No, they just tell it here. Yeah, he's feeling sad. So if it's not the guy who's crushed under there, did he fall out the window? This is the guy who died over here. Sit down. Is it just unknown? That seems odd for them to introduce like an unknown thing this early in the game.
He blasted out the window. There's a guy in the back that like is laying down and
It's time to meet Shoppers Drug Mart's 2023 top picks. New Mini Wheats Minis. Half the size, all the flavor.
Memory transcription subject. Swanwick, Venlo Space Call. Date, standardized human time, October 18, 21:36. The tension was palpable as the Axer occupants stood in my cell in silence. I gathered that the human didn't want to engage with them either. The predatory savagery from the cradle plagued my recollection, and the chilling screams of the unfortunate Khajiits echoed on loop. It would be all too easy for the Greys to gut either of us with a swipe of their fangs. Chief Hunter Isif dropped into the seat right next to us. The monster was inches away from me. It disregarded the of Marcel's body language. The human had leaned away, though there wasn't anywhere to go in a helicopter cabin. I got the impression his concern was for me, rather than himself. After the attack on Earth, it's like he doesn't care what happens to women. If I wasn't about to be carved up, I'd insist he seek help. Isaac bared his teeth ferociously.
Well, I've introduced myself. What's your name, Enlil?
His voice was a discordant snarl, amplifying humanity's typical rumble by 1,000-fold. A pathetic squeak escaped my throat, and I sobbed into Marcel's shirt. The vegetarian stroked my ear with patience, unfazed by the salty wetness soaking the fabric. I didn't know how even a persistent predator could be so calm in the face of such an eyesore. That smelly demon was sensory hell. I'd been hunted by Marcel's kind for hours, and look at Isif for another second.
Okay. That was the response I expected.
The axe aside,
What are you called, human?
my parents said, Marcel Fraser. But just Marcel is fine. Brother Enlil here. His name is Sonic.
I knew you hadn't lost your voice, Marcel. Slanik is here on Tava's behalf, yes?
My ears packed up in a row. How did I see you back over today? That must be the last of my time, didn't it? While having nefarious plans for her. I refuse to believe the humans would betray us by turning over intel on us. Marcel offered a curt handshake.
Slanik is a fighter pilot. We're training him to be a cocker soldier. Good one. As if this specimen could fight.
Isif's eyes glistened with decadent mirth before the expression dissolved.
Oh, Prophet. You're serious, aren't you?
The red-haired human glared at the floor, not answering the reptile. It was clear my friend had little interest in the conversation. I think he only entertained the first question to the commander to leave me alone. The monstrous predator gave up and turned its focus to the window. Our helicopter drifted above a sea of rubble and stretched to the horizon. Building husks lingered as statues to a fallen world, and fires were splashed across the landscape. The ground was covered in a thick coating of soot. This looked like the aftermath of an axe raid. My heart sank in my chest as I realized how dire the outlook was for Marcel's family. The human pilot guided our craft toward the designated neighborhood. Chief Hunter Isif craned its neck and narrowed its disgusting eyes with sullenness. I didn't understand what game it was playing, trying to make nice movements. It must have some
I hate when I lose stuff I've had literally just sitting there forever.
maintained the brooding expression as we touched down. It's ordered the other crews to sweep the area for survivors and accrue intel for their government. Marcel rose to his feet to follow them, but Isaac blocked the human's path. The scary monster gestured to the devastation behind it.
What do you think of what the Federation did, Slanik?
The chief hunter growled.
Hello.
My ears laid flat
Hope you're
against
having
my
a good
skull.
night. I'm working on this tonight.
Think
Something else, whatever I can find.
a sharp glint flashed in its eyes.
If you're new to the channel, this is the world's most boring live stream
Our species is an instrument.
where I sit here and work on stuff, listen to something, and ignore everything else. So feel free to get that housework done before going to bed tonight, like vacuuming and dusting. That usually needs somebody to feel like, watching so you feel productive.
You all want my kind wiped from existence. Hell, you probably wish I'd drop dead right now. Do you even see us as people?
After everything you've done, you'll never be people to anyone. My sudden outburst took me by surprise. Marcel's fingers tensed around my scruff, and his stance shifted to a defensive posture. That commentary placed my human in a precarious situation. My money wasn't on the wounded, squishy primate if this turned physical. I should have never boarded this aircraft to begin with. The Axa raised the ridges above its eyes and turned around with a sigh. Isif somehow restrained its aggression. The pointed hoof emanated disappointment. It drew its sidearm before shuffling into the ruins of New York. Marcel followed with a bit of hesitancy.
I'm sorry for what Slanik said, Chief Hunter. Any sapient is a person, no matter what they've done. Is that so, human?
The reptile grumbled.
Look, our race has become a shell of itself over the centuries. I wish it wasn't like this.
My eyes widened in surprise. Polite concessions lamenting their current status wasn't what I expected it to say. For an emotionless predator, it was doing an excellent job of emulating regret. The fear eased enough for me to wonder what it had to gain from this act. The Axa never attempted to converse with prey as a rule. Why are you so cruel and merciless? The words spewed from my mouth in the rumbling fervor. Why did you kill my brother and bomb my planet and eat people alive while you were me? Its nostrils flared.
Ah, yes. It's well documented that I did all those things personally. I'm a busy guy. I get around.
Your species. Don't mock me, demon. There's no good reason your breed is that cruel and morally deficient.
The Federation are the reason we're starving. Cruelty was and is a defense mechanism in my view. I'm not excusing it. I'm answering your insults.
Defense mechanism. How so?
It was needed as a way to cope with what we had to do to survive. We're also fighting a war of extinction while vastly outnumbered, so it serves psychological purposes too. Recorded sadism. The Federation loses because they're afraid.
The ark suppressed the mountain of rubble, and Marcellus was top of the street. One human was crawling through the streets with serious burns across their extremities. Their breathing came in rapid gasps, and the sight of bleeding flesh led me nuts. The Israeli medics had arrived on the scene already. The Americans must have directed them to a separate landing site for the grave. A new volunteer rushed to the bird victim's side, repeating soothing words. The other quadruped kept a wide berth from the green human and trembled in terror.
Wyman, I need a dose of painkillers and antiseptics now.
The youthful Zerulean chimed in. Wyman flicked his ears in skepticism.
We know nothing about these predators other than the arcs are like them. Our government has gone mad, Fraser. I can't get close to this thing.
Isaac scowl intensified. The hunter gripped its sidearm with malicious intent. Rich hummed against in his gaze, and he shared an enraged glance with Marcel. For once, I agreed with the monster. We couldn't let the medics dilly-dally with the mechanized demon. Fraser rounded on her partner.
What we know is the humans haven't done anything wrong. They sought peace and were brutally attacked for it. Also, the Fenlil and our ambassador adore them.
But they're predators. I'm here for the
No! We don't play God and pick and choose who we have. We save lives indiscriminately.
Ow.
What with that? Get the fuck out of my sight.
The injured human watched with glassy eyes. Wyman lowered his head before crouching at Fraser's side. He began applying wet dressings and antiseptics while his partner tended to the pain. The civilians then cracked a transport to their hospital ship. Isaac lowered its gun and watched as the quadruped strained to lift the human. The Axa marched down to the side, swishing its tail in a display of dominance. The Zeralians dropped the patient when they saw the grey skulking to them. That was where the abomination had regained its appetite. Maybe it likes charred flesh like Tyler did. You could see the Terran burn victim as the perfect meal. Oh, stars. The chief hunter lifted the primate onto the gurney and fastened the straps inside. Backed away and growled to get the medic's attention. Fraser was wielding a syringe in her mouth, pointing it as if a shot of painkillers would stop the murderous demon.
Stay back!
The female Zerulean quivered and seemed aghast at the sight of my human behind the grave.
Freeman! Fenlil! Please! Help us! It's kidnapping my patient!
I'm not kidnapping the human. I put her on the stretcher so you can move her for evac.
Isaac growled.
If I was hostile, trust me, you would know. I'm gentle as a sledgehammer.
Marcel trundled up beside the Arcset.
The last Federation physician I met wanted me dissected. Our doctors pledged to do no harm. It's a thing to see someone mirror the sentiment of the Hippocratic Oath.
Wiley squinted at the vegetarian.
You're that human named Marcel from Noah's video. I recognize you.
Shit!
Fraser squeaked.
I'm sorry for what they did to you. Your treatment went against every ethical principle that we stand for.
The chief hunter inspected the red-haired human with confused eyes. The demonic predator growled to him, Noah to itself, and snorted something on its own
What?
path.
You want to get in your
What's
chair?
what
Come
happened to
on.
my friend?
You want to get in your chair? All right, come on. Get your chair out. Get the pictures out. Put those down and wait. There we go. Get the toys out of the way. There we go, babe. Yeah, nice and soft. Come here. Come on, you little bastard. Oh, little bastard. Come here. You're lucky. You're adorable. And I think you understand that. Come here! No. You've got enough dry food to last you till morning. And wet food.
Obviously,
Go outside.
no animal that knew of weakness would mock his traumatic experience. Marcel pointed a hand to the stretcher. The Zerulean sidled up to the patient hesitantly. Isaac slunk beside them, moving the brunt of the weight. The medic shuffled in a terrified stupor, and our oddball group traversed the ruins. It was sad to see Earth like this, having witnessed this city in its sprawling glory days ago. It took several minutes to reach the Zerilian hospital ship, which was hovering over a decimated roadway. It clipped rows of beds in its loading
There we
bay,
go.
and
Got it.
its eyes widened with hope.
Hey, baby.
Panicked shouts echoed from the ship's occupants at the reptile sighting. The chief hunter ducked its head, perhaps to seem less threatening. The Axa pulled away, and more Zerilian medics hurried over to look the patient on board. Fraser and Wyland bore delirious eyes, which suggested the fear was overstimulating them. That little excursion must have been psychological torment to them.
Have you rescued a Gajit child? Hopefully with a human female.
My human growled. Wyland blinked.
What? A Gajit. You know, spiky, brown third, big claws. Where is she?
The Zerilians cowered at Marcel's roar, and their hackle fur stood on end. I swatted my tail at his chin, warning him to calm down. His desperation was something I recognized, but these medics didn't understand humans yet. They probably thought he was about to go on a rampage. Mars is very upset, and loud. But he's harmless, I hissed. Please, just tell us if you've seen a Gajit. Fraser drew a shaky breath.
No. Only humans here.
I can check with our groups in the other cities.
Wyland added hurriedly.
Maybe Berlin, Toronto, Bangkok, or Manila. The Predator dwellings there.
Marcel slumped his shoulders in defeat.
No.
I can't believe I lost that
They...
again.
Oh, I see.
Understanding
Oh,
flashed in
that's some
Isaac's
softener. That's the
Why don't we
Freyguard.
search for your packmates at their last location? These Ceruleans could help us look around.
He nodded, blinking away at tears. The officer focused on his watery eyes and gave him a rough tail swap on the arm. If I didn't know better, I would think it was a poor attempt at comfort. A species devoid of empathy was never carried of course. Isaac was clearly awkward and unpracticed at that falsified aspect. Fraser's gaze softened and she shared a glance with her partner.
We'll help you search.
But I'd prepare for the likeliest possibility. As a predator, you should be logical about the situation.
Wyland said.
Wyland, he clearly grasps the extent of the dead. There's nothing logical about this. Where are we going, Marcel?
The red-haired primate browsed his holopad and searched for a location via GPS. The local terrain was unrecognizable, so I doubted he could distinguish Neely's bunker from any other scrap heap. The device pinpointed a location a quarter-mile from the hospital ship. All I could see there was a section of concrete. Anything living must be crushed beneath that. It's likely the bunker collapsed from the pressure. Marcel could barely put pressure on his injured leg, but he staggered ahead for the minutes-long trek. I could feel the human's grief expanding with every step. My predator was cracking right alongside the buildings of New York. It hurt to see my friend, who I believed could withstand any emotion, crumbling. His distress frightened me as much as the hideous Axa flanking us. Marcel reached the selected debris mound, and I dismounted onto my own paws. This must be the fallout shelter his family relocated to. The human hurled himself on all fours, flinging the smallest rocks behind him in a frenzy. An animalistic grunt reverberated from his chest as he strained against his arm injury to tug a massive rock chunk. Chief Hunter Isaac pressed his shoulder against the debris and moved it enough to leave a tiny gap. Marcel ported the scratch below, trying to catch a glimpse of the shelter. He dug furiously with his flimsy fingers. Blood streamed from his dust-caked nails, but that only quickened his scrabbling.
Lucy! Nelia!
He wailed in the highest-pitched voice I'd ever heard him use. There was no reply from beneath the ruins. Through choking sobs, my friend returned to passing rocks with his hands. His fingers were drenched in crimson flame. Sympathy clutched my heart with a vice-like grip, and I tackled him in a desperate effort. Mars! Stop it! You're hurting yourself! I pleaded. Fraser placed a cautious paw on his neck.
That's enough. We'll excavate the bodies and make sure they get a proper burial by your customs. We promise.
The human collapsed atop the wreckage and pressed an eye against the opening. He screamed incoherently, clutching the rubble in outrage. I watched the life leave his sweet countenance. Even the gushing tears dried up. My friend was unresponsive to any prodding. Wyland dabbed at his eyes, affected by the extent of the predator's raw emotions. I recognized that realization as he decided humans were sapient. Anyone who saw this display as a performance had to be heartless. There must be countless others across Earth in such a state. I nuzzled his leg. Step aside, Rex. Please. Let the doctors disinfect your wounds.
Why?
my demon croaked.
They've taken everything. Little Sonic put me out of my misery.
Malcolm!
A childish voice cried, faintly audible.
Where have you been? It's really dark down here, and I don't like the dark.
Marcel's head snapped up.
You're alive. I'm coming, darling. Just hold on. We're working as fast as we can.
But I want to go somewhere safe now, so that monsters won't find me or pick on your eyes. Don't leave me here, Mountie.
Never. I'm right here.
A chorus of human growls joined Lulia as we realized rescuers were above. Wave coursed through my veins. Against all odds, some of the bunker withstood the blast. Chief Hunter Isaac radioed to send heavy machinery to our coordinates and withdrew with a fierce snarl. Untrustworthy as it was, I couldn't deny it had been helpful so far. Amidst the chaos and devastation on Earth, it was a relief to save a few human lives from the ashes.
Gonna bake these in place and then glue them down after, unless I can find putty.
You're laser focused on results. So are we. With Clinique Smart Clinical Repair, it's as effective as a laser on the lipid lines and wrinkles. With advanced retinoid and peptides, it's derm level results in a bottle.
Memory transcription subject, Captain Soblin, Federation Fleet Command. Date, standardized human time, October 20th, 2136.
Going upstairs?
The United Nations had only scratched the surface of species of the Federation, having meaningful interactions with a small percentage. The crocodile and Farsoul received the most fanfare in the Anti-Predator Coalition. The 24 total species had participated in Earth's attack. Of those, 17 committed only a minority of their forces. One of those was the Harchin, a reptile species famed for their natural camouflage. The waddling prey bipeds were half a human's height and could morph their skin into a multitude of alluring colours. Their species was a stellar average in most fields, notable for a few media franchises and software startups. Thus, all they had in common with the Arxa was animal class. My decision to wander into Harchin territory looked dicey though, in an obvious Venlil ship. Given their hostile relations with Earth, I doubted they'd welcome us with open arms. That was why I weaponized the stealth tactics to remain hidden. Their cunning strategies deployed against the Ajit border outposts long ago had become useful in ironic fashion. Our ship leapt between high-gravity spots until we lurked behind a satellite of the blissful modernity. It was a wealthy colony which housed media conglomerates and tech companies. Most importantly, it was the home of an investigative reporter I wanted to recruit. Her stories were hard-hitting, and she was steadfast to the facts, whatever they may be.
Why are we here, Soblin?
The deft Halpin demanded through his synthesizer.
You're escaping with the Harchin, a Terran enemy. You still want to kill the humans for being predators.
Burner, his sister, flicked her claws.
Countless people died on Earth, you monster. How can you turn your back on them?
I'm going to pick up a journalist named Selene, who I trust in the shuttle, I replied. You're going to wait here, where no one can see you. In and out. Then we head to Arthur.
This Selene must have an interest in protecting her planet. Her species is hostile to the humans.
The female Khajiit returned.
There are other journalists in the galaxy. Hell, thousands on Arthur. We don't need an enemy.
The media figures who can be impartial to humans are few. Selene is the one who exposed the secret for turning away millions of refugees a year and dissected their unsustainable colonizing practices. As though it was outing the crocodile military for prolific
like that.
extortion that got her famous.
How does any of that connect her to you?
Because I was the anonymous source for both stories. Gunboat diplomacy wouldn't retrieve intelligence, whatever my UN guards had thought. Berner and Talpin objected to my plan, but they were missing the big picture of our Kolshian excursion. Mouthpieces were little good without the means to spread their message around. Besides, investigating the Federation was something that mandated professional assistance. Sensors indicated a large ship presence around the blissful modernity. Perhaps the Hatch had anticipating a human counterattack. Scanning for subspace readings or life signs
Yeah, I
wasn't
think
an
that'll
option
be
in
it.
our precarious stealth mode. The situation would be clearer once I got a visual. The escape pod was cramped on the inside, but I wriggled through the emergency hatch nonetheless. My hope was that this Vendel-sized four-seater would escape detection. Here you go, Sovlin. Fly through a waiting armada. And then, you have to get back up here too. This was a remarkably bad idea. My surroundings became visible on the viewport as I coasted out from behind the solar station. The Archon colony glistened a dusty brown and lacked any signs of native vegetation. Hundreds of warships were centered around the planet, which set alarm bells off in my head. The prey reptiles never had this many heavy craft on standby for a minor colony. After fiddling with the buttons, I magnified an orbiting warship on screen. The breath was sucked from my lungs. That clunky, explosive-laden death machine was an Archer bomber, and it was surrounded by many brethren. It wasn't being challenged by any Harchan vessels, despite the fact that most of their fleet stayed at home. Had the Harchans' involvement in the attack on Earth left their colonies vulnerable? Perhaps they had to ration their defences to the most populated areas without complete numbers. It was also possible local coordination was too poor to resist a full-fledged assault. Regardless, something must have caught his eyes. The emergency channel crackled to life when I switched on the radio.
Requesting immediate assistance from any Harchan vessels in the vicinity. Harchan Command, do you copy? Our evacuation ships are being slaughtered.
There was a brief pause before a terse reply came through.
We can't divert acid from Thal. The Arks are trying to lure us away from the homeworld since the head-on approach failed. I'm sorry.
But you can't just leave us here. Send a few ships to cover the evacuation. Please.
Blissful modernity, you're not the priority. I suggest you broadcast the chanted remembrance planet-wide to secure your passage to the afterlife. Good
Go.
luck.
The chant of remembrance was a traditional folk song that the Harchan used as a last rite. That was one way of saying that the entire colony was going to be sacrificed. If I attempted to land on the surface, I might get blown out of the sky or gunned down on foot by the Arxer. Worse yet, I could be herded onto a cattle ship. Overall, this was becoming a worse idea by the second. Berner and Talpin could be spotted in the main ship at any moment, or be left without the pilot to complete the journey. The humans needed our testimony to reach the Federation. The fate of the galaxy hinged on the reception of my plea. But if I was ever I had to try to rescue an old friend from the Arxer incursion. What kind of man stood idly by as innocent civilians were
That's not going to do much good, is it?
Didn't deserve this.
No.
How complicit their government was in Earth's bombing. I wondered if the Terrans still understood that. He just landed by the Blissful Network's office, running, rescue Selene, and take off, I told myself. This will be fine. Nobody will
Where are
notice
we
a tiny
going?
escape pod amidst an orbital compartment. I plotted a descent course for the address. My shuttle snuck past the Greys as they focused on decimating the landmass. Arxer looked for visuals of escape craft from the surface, not suicidal rescuers. They probably relied on sensor data too. Our stealthy approach gave me a chance to land, but the return trip was another matter. The shuttle blazed into the thin atmosphere, rattling from the external force. Fiery missiles streaked down alongside me. They were a relentless manner of inflict high casualties. The people on the ground knew that it was raining death, and their escape chances were close to none. Would the humans come to the rescue if they were here? I asked myself. Samantha spoke like she wanted this to happen, but I can't believe she truly meant that. Her mind. The Harchan ground enlarged on the screen with a smoky mist fogging the air. Precise explosions targeted a few city blocks, smiting residential areas of infrastructure. The Arxer wanted to flush any civilians from their homes, so the cattle collectors would have an easy time. It was a page out of the playbook we'd seen many times.
Landing complete. Initiating shutdown sequence.
My pod's computer announced. I scrambled out of the shuttle, gun in pause. The polluted oxygen sent me into a coughing fit, and my eyes watered. Mushroom clouds dotted the horizon like
There's a
peacocks.
monster in the trees.
Sole relief was that there were no lanky axis silhouettes in the vicinity, although I could hear gruesome screams in the distance. The press building was still intact, and that was a positive sign in itself. Stampeding wasn't a viable instinct, but bombs were going off in every corner. The runners were likely half-eaten corpses by now, but some people must have sheltered in place. I had to hope my reporter friend was one of them. Autopilot kicked in as I sprinted up the emergency stairwell. There were no signs of footsteps, electricity, or chatter. My prayer was that the answer hadn't swept his building. I doubled over once I reached the third floor. The steep ascent left me winded. Terrified screams followed my entry.
Don't eat us. We're reptiles like... Oh.
Selene gasped.
Huh. Sovlin. What the hell are you doing here?
My gaze swept the room. There were 4 Harchin reporters hiding under desks, quivering in terror. One was holding a seat cushion over his throat, as if that would protect him from an axe's teeth. I relaxed my gun and gestured toward the stairwell door. No time. Come with me. I parked a shuttle outside. You can all fit in if you squeeze together, I growled. Selene blinked in confusion.
Not so fast. We've heard you're a human prisoner, and that you were mentally unstable before. Why and how are you here? I won't be a predator's test subject.
The humans sent me to Arthur as a messenger, and you can see I'm in good condition. I need your help. You'll have every opportunity to stay with the Colchians.
Prove you're not re-educated, Zoblin. They could have turned you into a mindless minion, doing their bidding, advancing their agenda.
The other Harchin reporters watched with apprehension, though they inched toward the exit. I respected that Selene hadn't changed her skeptical ways. These questions were wasting time. She was too inquisitive for her own good. From the tone of her rhetoric, I wondered if she had bought into the anti-human propaganda. Their sickening eyes made my spines bristle for days. I thought the humans would torture me and lay waste to any civilization they crossed paths with. I chewed my claws with impatience. I believed every empathetic act they did had an ulterior motive. I wanted them all dead, and I remember it all. Unlike the brainwashed individual, Selene climbed to her feet.
So why would we help humans send a message after what they did to us?
What they did to you? You attacked their home unprovoked. It's the Arcs are attacking you now. They're not affiliated.
This is a coordinated bombardment against every species in our coalition. At least those that we can make contact with. Someone had to tip the Greys off days ago. Are you sure about that unaffiliated claim, Zoblin?
Shock coursed through my veins. The other coalition members were under siege too. A specific attack against the races who targeted Earth led to some dark conclusions. If these raids weren't spontaneous acts of violence, then maybe the Ghajiit Cradle... No. The humans were kind to non-combatants on the Cradle, imperiling their own lives for our welfare. Terran rules of warfare disallowed attacks against civilians. Those soldiers fought tooth and nail to protect our cities and cared for our refugees with the utmost kindness. I couldn't believe that they would set such a plan in motion. But who else would have contacted the Greys? The humans were very interested in negotiating with the Arxa during the last interrogation. It's possible they reached out, I decided. Protect to help us if they jumped sides out of desperation. Selene shuddered.
Ugh. You know the Terrans talk to the Greys. I can see it in your eyes.
The humans were pursuing diplomatic avenues, but they also despised what the Arxa did to our world. It has to be an accident if they shared this, I sighed.
All I care about is the honest truth, and you might not like what that truth is. I can't help you spread human deceit, not even to save my life.
This isn't about humans, silly. I'm here because the Federation are killing each other over how they voted. It's going to doom us all. Just please, come with me now, and take a look at the facts. That's it. Fear shone in the female Harchin's eyes momentarily, and her skin morphed into the beige shades of the wolf. I took that as a sign that she was camouflaging to head out. The other staffers had no qualms scampering down the stairwell ahead of me. They'd take their chances with an unstable predator-tainted Ghajiit over an Axis slaughter fleet. Terrified shrieks echoed from the first Harchin staffers to exit the building. They turned back, tripping in their haste back up the stairwell. I gestured for them to quiet down and raised my gun. There must be an Arxa cattle squad or an Eton Harchin in sight, which meant we needed to depart quickly. I peeked my head out the door. Horror brought my spines to full bristle as I saw 5 greys leaning against the escape pod. The vicious predators were waiting for the prey to wander into their grasp. My stationary shuttle must have been sighted along their route. The hunters seemed delighted by the unexpected appearance of a Gajid. I suppose that was a rare meal, post-cradle. There was no way I could shoot all of them, especially with their superior reflexes. Running was impossible too, since my shuttle was our ticket off this rock, and I just brought the hatch into their deaths. My brain froze in terror for a split second, sealing my fate. One Axer pounced from all fours and dragged me by the arm out into the open. Saliva coated my fur in a sticky dousing as its monstrous fangs pierced my skin. My initiative for the humans was going to end with me as a predator's meal. Memory transcription subject. Captain Sovlin, Federation Fleet Commander. Date, Standardized Human Time, October 20th, 2136. The feeling of teeth in my shoulder produced a sharp pain. The joint was about ripped from the socket as I was dragged across the asphalt. I wriggled in the predator's jaws, punching its snout to release its grip. The stabbing of my long claws drew blood, and it tossed me onto the ground with the shake of its head. My body slammed against our metallic shuttle. All I could see were stars. The pounding of my heart was a nauseating experience. This must be what my family felt as they were toyed with before being turned into a screaming meal. I couldn't give these Arctic cattle fiends the satisfaction of screaming or crying. Maybe it was worth some sort of plea to get them to spare the Harchin. The sole option that crossed my mind was to invoke the humans. They were the only ones the Greys had a remote respect for. If the primates had directed the Arcs of Dominion to this vulnerable civilian populace, perhaps they would abandon anything the Terrans allegedly claimed. Stop! I squealed. I'm a human slave, on a mission to expose the Federation's lies. When they killed your cattle, like you say, they want to get the details for you. To my amazement, the Grey paused in its stalking position.
The humans did claim the Gajid homeworld, and we recognise their snake. I can smell them on your fur. But where are our fellow predators if you're their property? They wouldn't set you free.
They have my family, I sobbed with fake despondency. I'll do whatever they want, even if it's harmful to the Federation. Confusion flashed in Seleni's eyes. The Harchin reporter knew my family was long deceased, so that lie wouldn't fool her. I didn't understand why the prey reptiles hadn't made a run for it yet. There were no good options, but stalling the Arxa gave them a small window of escape. The bloodied predator flashed a snarl.
Clever. But why are you on this world with those who attacked Earth?
These Harchin are priority assets for the humans. I don't ask questions, but I'm sure it's for a good reason. Let us leave, please. The Greys conferred for a moment and inspected a smoking section of the shuttle hood. I couldn't believe they were listening to any of my bullshit. There was a brief flicker of hope that we might fall under Terran immunity. Propping myself upright, I nursed the wounded arm with a ginger touch. Talking to them is revolting, but the Arxa just confirmed that this assault is retaliation for Earth. Selene was right. What have the humans done?
We'll let you leave as a token of good faith, slave. We mangled your engine, though, so you'll need to find another way off world.
The Arxa spokesmonster decided.
Matt, the Arch should stay. I think you are disobeying your orders to save our enemies.
The prey reptiles scampered back into the stairwell, only to find themselves blocked by a laughing Grey. A single beast must have landed on the roof, cutting off any escape. They intended to flush the Harchin out into the street, one way or another. My eyes widened in horror as the Greys herded them into a cage. Stop! The humans want these for as media tools. Really? I pleaded. The vicious predator snorted.
The humans want all of them dead. On that matter, it just so happens our interests align.
I wondered whether the Terrans would enjoy the sight of the panicked Harchin reporter sealed together in a degrading heap. My imprisoners would despise this raid, wouldn't they? The cage door slammed shut, and the Ark suggested for me to scurry off. It would be easy to save myself, but I couldn't watch cattle be hauled away. My gaze darted over to my gun, which had fallen into the dirt. Odds were, I could only get off a shot or two before the Greys mowed me down with prejudice. I had to try something to rescue these Harchin, no matter how suicidal. It was a matter of waiting for the Axer to lose focus and accepting that I was about to die.
Is there a problem?
A throaty snarl echoed from my right. Carlos stomped across the road, clad head to toe in protective pelts. A flashlight was mounted to his helmet, and his binocular eyes hid behind a glass visor. A massive gun rested across his muscular forearm. I was never so elated to see a flesh-eating predator in my life. But what the hell is my guard doing here? I don't even know that you won't leave the Harchin to their fate. Or worse, laugh about it. The human stopped a few paces from the Archer posse and crossed his arms in a formidable stance. The talkative Grey, who must have been the unit leader, sized up the omnivore. He narrowed its eyes with blazing ferocity, challenging Carlos's will. I didn't know how the UN soldier faced that stare. The reptilian predator bared his fangs.
Your slave wants to help his Archer escape. It is using its subjugation as a cover, claiming this is done at your orders.
Carlos's pupils bit to the cramped cage.
You heard Sovlin and his true orders correctly. He's an obedient servant. We want to send a message to the Federation, and these are the right individuals for the job. Simple.
A relieved sigh escaped my lips. I was grateful that the human backed me up after I deviated our flight path to recruit Terran enemies. He might take these Harchin prisoner, or even execute them, but he wouldn't eat them. His kind wasn't like the Greys. At worst, I could reason with him and make sense of the questionable things he might do.
Why can't you find another pet?
The Grey hissed.
We did all the work, and we claimed this patch. These prey are of no particular importance. No different than thousands like them, with the same qualifications.
Carlos shuffled closer.
Our personnel selections are made off of data, simulations, and the best strategic minds on Earth. Are you questioning our judgment?
Yes, I am.
Say it again, you fucking coward.
I am questioning the judgment of weak, naive primitives. You haven't a clue what you're doing, or what it means to survive in this galaxy.
The human rose up on his toes and pressed his slender nose inches from the Arx's maw. The Grey straightened as Carlos tried to match its height. It breathed a deafening snarl at the UN soldier, but he wouldn't back down. Defiance glowed in the primate's eyes, despite being outclassed.
I could snap your puny neck with a single bite.
The Arxer roared. Carlos jabbed his gun barrel into its stomach.
And I could blow your intestines apart with a single finger. But we're on the same side, so why don't we work this out another way?
A contest of strength. You fight me one-on-one, without those overcompensating weapons of yours. If you win, you can have these Archin.
I'm game if you agree not to bite. Unless you think you're too weak to fight without overcompensating fangs.
Oh, let's do this. I'm going to beat the snot out of you, human.
The Terran soldier backed away and tucked his rifle off to the side. He raised his clawless paws in front of his face, forming white-knuckled fists. What was to stop the Grey from executing him now that he was disarmed? Luckily for Carlos, it was itching to release its aggression. The Arxer lunged at the human with a blunt swipe, which was barely dodged. It lashed out with a tail sweep, knocking the guard off his feet. The monster rolled around with quick jabs, which the primate blocked with an elbow. Carlos rolled out of the way and scrambled back to a standing position. He looked slow and toothless compared to the reptilian, not managing a single swing.
There we go. Alright.
With his own, Carlos scurried backward and tried to deflect the oncoming barrage. Sweat glistened on his olive skin. Veins showed in his artificial pelts. The axe inherently jabbed at his abdomen, but the human danced away on nimble feet. While he was focused on the claws, it swung its snout at him with force. The truncated hook held the guard right in the chest and sent him flying backward. The poor is getting his ass handed to him. Why did he think this was a good idea to negotiate? Damn humans and their aggression. Carlos sucked in a wheezing breath and rolled back to his paws. The great charged at him once more, and the human pummeled it in the nostrils. He shrugged off the blows with a snort. The UN guard attempted to deliver a kick.
Yeah, I know that's straight.
It snickered as the human flailed, hopping on one leg.
This isn't even a fight.
The axe had tugged at the primate's ankle and knocked him onto his rump. He dragged him through the dirt for several paces.
We may treat you like equals, but you don't make demands of us. You don't intimidate anyone.
Carlos kicked his clasped bull with his other leg, wriggling free.
You haven't beaten. Stay down, weakling. I've kicked the shit out of you. Now meant to admit defeat. Basically, it would do you good.
The human began to rise, only to be nailed across the mouth by a tail lash. Crimson blood bubbled on his lip, and spit the liquid into the dirt. He rolled onto his back, watching as the archer gloated in its victory. His hands darted to his head, wrenching the flashlight off his head. He shot it inches from his left pupil. The archer shrieked as the brightness flooded his gaze, blinking. Carlos popped back up wobbly legs and staggered in grappling range. The human knee into his stomach before tackling him with all of his weight. He rolled off to the side and wrapped an elbow
See how
around
it's
his neck.
faded.
The grave struggled to break loose, but its oxygen supply was dwindling.
Set. The match. Tap out.
Carlos gurgled. The grave pounded the human's elbow with violent swats, its hideous eyes bulging. Carlos released his grip with a toothy snarl. It coughed several times, caressing his throat.
Okay, come here, you. Well, at least I have water here with the dehumidifier. Damn it. I just don't know what that truth lies right now. Not right now. Give you a minute first.
The creature struggled to get back to its feet, and the Terran helped it stand.
You cheated.
It sputtered.
No weapons.
The UN guard shrugged.
I didn't use a weapon. Just an illumination device. You broke the spirit of our sparring, which is cheating to my eyes. You show little respect to your allies. And you're lucky I lack your evidence. Take the damn arching. It's a whopping 4 kettle.
The Arxes slunk off with narrowed gazes as their leader hobbled away. Due to their word, the demons left the hatching cage behind. The relief that flooded my veins was indescribable, though my hammering heart wouldn't pipe down. I raced over to the human and flung my arms around him with choking sobs. Carlos stiffened and pulled my paws off him.
Yeah. Don't do that, man.
Listen, sorry. I'm just really grateful for your help, I muttered. What are you doing here?
Keeping an eye on you, obviously. We were concerned about your little pit stop, and I followed you down here. I would really appreciate if you'd not go around calling yourself a slave in future.
It was improvisation. Can't guide you with results.
Speaking of improvisation, you put the whole mission at risk with this little stunt. The fuck were you thinking?
It was supposed to be a brief, easy trip. I wanted someone I knew, a friend on the team. I've dealt with enough people who hit me in recent weeks.
Whatever. Let's get your friends out of there. Hope they understand we're only the ride out. If they run off, I'm not going to stop the Greys from robbing the next time.
The human unclasped the cage door and watched as the hatching tumbled out. Zeleny inspected the predator with petrified eyes. Her comrades seemed repulsed by Carlos's lumbering form too, squealing as they returned his stare. The journalist's eyes darted to the side as though they wanted to run.
Did you tell the Arctic to attack us?
Zeleny blurted. Carlos narrowed his eyes.
I don't know. That's above my clearance level. If we did, it's likely to deter your forces from attacking us. The UN wouldn't want this to happen.
I slumped my shoulders. Not even people like Samantha. Wouldn't she want the Hatchin to feel the same losses as Earth? An indignant cough came from an abandoned vehicle behind us. Upon closer inspection, the female human was stretched out behind cover. A thin rifle barrel with a glass ornament was propped on the ground. She must have been monitoring the interaction the entire time and watching Carlos's back in case his confrontation went awry.
I don't believe that people deserve to die for what they are. That's the Federation.
She growled.
If an individual renounces their government, I'm sure Earth would welcome them with open arms. Now the ones responsible, complicit, or indifferent.
Carlos cleared his throat.
We parked a few blocks away, somewhere we wouldn't be visible to the whole world, Sovereign. Stick close, guys, and follow us.
The human retraced his route with delicate boot steps. His rifle was ready if any axe had crawled out of the woodwork, and Samantha fell in at his side. The Predator guards forged a path for the Hatchin journalists, ignoring their hesitance. It was remarkable to see the vengeful primates aiding a species that partook in the attack years prior.
It's time to meet Shoppers Drug Mart's 2023 top picks.
That didn't work at all.
100 top picks. Plus, get receipt optimum points on participating products.
Well, that's my bad interpretation of the next guy.
Memory transcription subject, Captain Calcin, Crocodile Alliance Command. Date, standardized human time, October 18th, 2136. Darkness had fallen over the reserve when I peeked up from the tent. Sleep had instilled new energy in my veins. There was a slim hope of escaping Earth if we could keep away from human search parties. Our posse needed to figure out our next move, and how to transport the Predator kit without harming it. A muffled whine echoed from behind me. I twisted around to see Arjun, bound in tight rope from head to toe. It must have walked before me and been struggling to break free. Several layers of tape had been slapped over its mouth, wasting medical gauze. I assumed Zahn didn't want to hear a human speak. Swallowing my nerves, I approached it. Shh, it's okay. I'm going to have to rip the tape off. Close your eyes. How could Dr. Zahn treat it like a thoughtless animal? Predators or not, humans were feeling sapience. The level of bindings was both excessive and unnecessary. Something as simple as tying a bell around its leg would suffice. It didn't seem fast or stealthy. The predator child squeezed its eyes shut. I yanked the adhesive off as quickly as I could and winced at the grimace on its features. The skin by its lip carried a red patch behind. The creature refrained from biting me with its slobbery canines, which was a relief. I set to work untangling the series of knots. What happened if Arjun tried to take me by surprise once it was loose? It could go for my gun before I knew what hit me. I was within grappling distance, and its reflexes must be quicker than mine. The last of the rope came untangled, and the human wriggled out of its entrapments. My gaze drifted to my sidearm. I took a few steps back, and barely resisted the urge to draw a weapon. The kid had faced enough hardship in these past few days. It needed someone to be civilized to it. The watery look in its eyes. The poor thing is terrified. There's no question these wretches have feelings. I'm sorry that they did that to you, Arjun. Are you okay? I asked gently. It sniffled.
The only reason you're not killing me is because you think they'll trade resources for me. I heard how you talked about me.
That stopped Zahn and Jarla from shooting you, didn't it? I would have let you go. Trust me. I want to get you back to your family safely.
That's bullshit! Those two aliens are evil. If you want me released, then help me get out of here.
I was beginning to regret taking the tape off this thing's mouth. The combative shouting wasn't helping anyone. It needed to keep its voice down, or Zahn would realize I was trying to console a human. However, expecting an aggressive predator to keep its head was a bit overambitious. Holding this child to Krakotl sensibility standards would be unfair. I need the doctor cooperating. My feathers puffed out with irritation. My friend with the bandages will die without him. He's a good person. Smart, witty. The predator bared his teeth.
None of you are good people. You killed millions indiscriminately, and you liked it.
You don't know what you're talking about. I had to choose between hundreds of civilizations and yours. It was a terrible decision, but a necessity for the continuance of life. Every step of the way, I tried to minimize human suffering.
By dropping bombs on cities? Did you hear yourself?
To the very last moment we approached Earth, I was trying to think of another way. My own crew hates that I treat your kind with dignity, and that I offer predators surrender.
Then your crew are assholes.
Arjun's voice sounded hoarse, and its lips looked dry. How had Zahn expected it to drink water with its mouth taped shut? The Takan doctor hadn't even left rations nearby. It probably would make that hateful expert giddy if it died of dehydration. I fished through my own rations, making sure never to turn my back on the human. It would be foolish to leave myself vulnerable to pouncing or strangulation. The child watched with interest as I procured a canteen. It gulped down a bit more than I'd like, before handing the canister back. Jarla is the other Krakotl you saw. Her brain doesn't feel empathy or fear, I said. She can't help that she's vicious, any more than you can. In fact, Arjun is more capable of compassion. It has tried to appeal to my morality several times. It cares for more than its own life. The beast scowled.
Humans are not vicious. You're brainwashed, Kalsim. We have lives, families, schools, jokes, songs and games, just like you.
I'm sorry for all the beauty you've lost, but that doesn't change the truth. Tell me that you can't see humans killing or enslaving weaker cultures, that you wouldn't happily take our worlds away and reduce us to playthings.
What? That's not our plan. We would never do that.
Yet you've done these things to your own kind, and we're alien, not human. You build your empire off our backs one way or another. It's in your DNA, passed from your ancestors to little ones like you. Your growth is the threat. Arjun clenched its fists in indignation, but was distracted by its stomach growling. Racking my brain, I tried to recall what Noah shared about human needs. The speaker claimed that their diet was primarily vegetation and that they could live without meat. That meant this adolescent could consume our food without issue. My Tollins retrieved a slab of dried tree bark. Here, stop arguing with me and eat this.
That doesn't look like my food.
Arjun eyed the offering suspiciously. It took a hesitant nibble, then spit the bite out.
That is bitter. Gross.
I'm giving you my rations so you don't starve. It doesn't have to taste like your delectable blood-filled cuisine. The kid made a disgusted face, but swallowed several bites. The gagging sound it made seemed rather dramatic. You'd think it was expelling its lungs, or that it had fitted a corrosive poison. This ruckus was going to ensure Zahn and Jala checked on us. Few Krakotl would have gone out of their way to ensure it. I didn't understand why its planet was attacked, but I didn't blame it for that. It was emotionally distressed and unable to see these matters with
This one isn't going to work at all. It was too faded. I should have tried to paint it.
The Takan doctor sauntered in, wielding a pistol.
Good grief, Calcium. You've let it loose. And you're feeding it.
Tree bark. We don't want it to lose its mind and gorge on Thion's corpse, I said. Speaking of which, where is the first officer?
Don't change the fucking subject. So now instead of being bartered for supplies, this human is using up precious resources and manpower.
It's a temporary loss. We don't want to offer up the kid as a walking skeleton.
Why the hell not? If you keep its stomach empty, the humans will be under more of a time constraint to get it back. That's assuming predators care at all.
Arjun shoved the last of the bark in its mouth, inching away from Zahn. Its cheeks were tear-stained, but absolute hatred shone in its pupils as well. I couldn't imagine how overwhelming the predatory chemicals flowing through its veins were. The doctor's lack of compassion was staggering. With how cold his suggestion of starvation was, you would think he had Jala's disorder. I fixed the Takan with a glare. First off, we would encourage the humans to treat us the same in kind. This predator doesn't deserve to suffer for existing. It has suffered enough pain and heartache today. The physician swished his tail.
You're oh so worried about its feigned emotions. Why do you care what it feels?
Fuck you! I'm not an eat!
The human growled. Zahn charged the kid, rearing back with his firearm. The doctor trembled with anger as he swung the gun toward its head. The predator's binocular gaze widened in alarm. I couldn't let it be beaten to a pulp for speaking its mind, when all it had done was complain about our language. Arjun had a family and a future out there, which was jeopardized by the Takan's malice. The more I considered our conversation, its intelligence was impressive for a child. Granted, it would help propagate the survival of the human race, but that seemed a likely probability no matter what. So what did harming it achieve? I don't want to see it in pain. Or worse, end up like Thion. Without realizing I had moved, I stretched my wing in the strike's path. Zahn was committed to the blow by the time I obstructed his angle. The metal gun connected with my soft tissue, while the human cowered behind a feathery shield. Pain flared down my left appendage, resonating to the bone. The throbbing sensation was nauseating, and a single glance told me it was broken. Shit! You broke my wing! I screeched, doubling over in anguish. What if that had been Arjun's head? You could have cracked his skull! The doctor leveled his gun barrel at me.
His?
My eyes widened as I realized the slip of my tongue. I shook my head, trying to filter away any positive assessments of Arjun. The kid was lying prone on the floor, and its eyes were bulging. If their chills and pack were taken away, humans weren't competent predators. I was the only one that could protect this beast. Zahn's concentration waned as a squawking Jala landed behind him. I took the opportunity to wrench the gun from his grip with my good wing. Ironically, I could use his services to patch the broken bone up. The pain intensified with the slightest movements or vibrations. The Takan hadn't even flinched at assaulting me. I brandished the firearm awkwardly. Mutiny is punishable by death, unless the captain is deemed unfit for command. Why shouldn't I carry out your sentence?
Calcium, put the gun down.
The doctor stammered.
You're being unreasonable.
I am unreasonable. Then what on Nishtal do I call you? Jala issued a hearty laugh.
What did I miss?
The female Krokotl's eyes darted behind him, and she drew her own firearm. Arjun had capitalized on the chaos, making a break for the exit. The human skidded to a halt once the armed sociopath blocked its path. After witnessing how slippery Terran forces were, I really should have been paying more attention to it. I hope Jala doesn't make any hasty decisions here. He proved himself a threat to crew safety and this mission. I lowered the pistol and noted the contempt in the doctor's eyes, but he's not going to disobey orders, is he? The Turkan sighed. No, sir.
Your wing isn't supposed to bend like that, Kelsian.
Jala chuckled. I struggled to ignore the searing pain. Tell me something I don't know. Go on. Laugh at my misfortune later. Is there something you need?
I circled the perimeter from the skies and spotted a human a few clicks away. It's heading toward our position. And it's armed.
Arjun mustered a feral snarl.
Dad,
Panic swelled in my chest at the thought of Terrans converging at our position. Confronting Arjun's father was an option, but we didn't know that it was alone. The photographer might notice that something was wrong and alert authorities. Humans were dangerous without the element of surprise. It was unclear whether our small posse could survive direct combat. It would be in our best interest to leave the kid, and that was what my conscience demanded. However, that plan wouldn't be popular with my companions. With a crippled wing, taking on Jala and Zan was an incredible risk. Both could aim guns without difficulty, and a flight-worthy Krokotl could maneuver freely. More importantly, the doctor's incapacitation would damn Thion. That was the main reason I couldn't punish this mutiny. The Farsoul's life took precedence over Arjun's welfare, plain and simple. I had to keep this together until Thion regained consciousness. It's time to move, I decided. Where is your patient, Zan? The doctor scowled.
Thion is safe. Jala crafted a pulley system and put him up in a nearby tree. Predators won't get to him there, though I can't speak for humans finding him.
Good. We need to hurry before dozens of full-grown beasts descend on us. We'll come back as soon as human activity cools off. Jala began collecting our supplies, as well as anything Arjun had that was useful. I steered the kid out into the open, trying to be gentle with my gun prodding. Intimidating it wasn't my desire, but we needed to move quickly. There was no time for a diplomatic approach. Arjun looked around in desperation as we staggered out of the encampment. I knew it wanted to be rescued. That pleading gaze reminded me of the burning pups, praying to be saved from their extermination. Why did it have to jog up those memories with every expression? I thought I was past that guilt.
Dad! Help!
The kid screamed.
Dad!
I clapped my good wing over its mouth. You idiot! Are you trying to get yourself killed? Zan passed me a roll of medical gauze, a conceited glint in his eyes. I could hear the words, "Told you so," from the smug doctor. He scowled at the human, tracing a toe over his own throat slowly. The child swallowed, and I suppose it understood the gesture. I applied a single layer of tape and offered a sympathetic pat. The predator hadn't left much choice other than to gag it. Not only could that wailing cry have alerted its father, but it could have drawn attention from forest beasts. That squashed all hopes of Arjun's guardian accepting the disappearance as a tragic accident. Its suspicions were going to be elevated, and its protective instincts would seek answers. Our entourage was going to find out exactly how good humans were at tracking.
Long may we drive.
Memory transcription subject, Captain Kalsim, Krokotl Alliance Command. Date, standardized human time, October 18th, 2136. The leafy ground crunched underfoot as we steered the Terran prisoner across the park. I was certain Arjun was purposely stomping on brittle patches. The kid wanted to make as much noise as possible in an attempt to summon others of its kind. It didn't matter how much of a ruckus it made, or if it dragged its feet. With how slow humans plodded along, we had at least an hour of walking between us and the returning father. It would tire after sustained exertion and be forced to retrieve a vehicle to close that distance. That left time to snack and hydrate. I ambled along on wavy legs. How do you land animals walk everywhere? I wish I could still fly, Zan.
And I wish I could exsanguinate that thing of yours. It would die in minutes if I sliced that big artery on its neck.
The doctor muttered. Charlotte chuckled.
Do you think its eyes would stay open after we axed its head? Or maybe they would pop right out of its skull?
We're not killing it, I snapped. Life, even tainted life, is sacred. True exterminators do not kill for fun or for laughs. Zahn pulled the scalpel from his bag and inspected the reflective metal. The Tucken must be considering how it would slice through predator skin. I wondered why he hated humans when his species government voted to be their allies. What left him so certain that social hunters had no emotions or benefits? I tried to focus on our travels, knowing we couldn't rest before Arjun's father did. The kid's skin was damp, but the strain to its breathing was minimal. We had been walking in the afternoon heat for an hour, and its legs weren't fully grown. It should be panting and stumbling with exhaustion. What regiment has this human hatchling been through? Its little lungs must be on fire. We need to rest, for its sake, soon. Additionally, there had been a surprising lack of predator sightings in the forest environment. Something must have picked up on our scent by now, but none of them had investigated further. Did other hunters fear the apex humans? The primates shouldn't scare wild beasts with their unimpressive forms. Arjun jerked backward and howled against the tape. I cursed as the kid clipped my broken wing. Did I tell you to stop walking? We'll rest in a few minutes. You're almost there. It continued screaming beneath the gag, and its binocular eyes were almost hysterical. If something frightened a predator, that gave me pause. There must be a reason it refused to walk. Unless this was a time-wasting trick. The Thea looked strikingly real, though, so I was inclined to believe the antics. A blood-curdling hiss permeated the air.
Hello.
And flashed across the leafy
Welcome to the live stream,
ground. Creature
where I sit here and work on stuff, listen to something, and ignore everything else.
Tongue waggled from its mouth
It's a little boring, but that's okay. We're being productive today. We're ignoring tomorrow.
That's a prey animal. It has side-facing eyes, I decided. The poor thing must be trying to scare off the predator, flattening its neck like that. I can't believe that works on a sapient human. The alarm in Arjun's gaze intensified, and beads of sweat surfaced on its skin. We would have stepped on the reptile if the kid hadn't flailed about. Why was it so terrified of a crippled animal? The tiger's bite was much more petrifying than this thing. The human seemed to forget about the gun to its back and bolted away with impossible energy. That mad dash reminded me of Federation species in a mindless stampede. Maybe these frail primates incorporated some prey instincts into their hardware to compensate for their weakness. Jala lined up her gun barrel.
Better learn how to fly real quick, Arjun.
My eyes widened. Don't shoot it!
You're no fun. I'm not just letting that scrawny beast go.
The sociopath was airborne before I could stop her and bore down on Arjun with powerful flaps. She swiped her talons across its shoulder, carving twin gashes into its flesh. The human yelped. It lost its balance from the blow and toppled to the ground. Jala's takeoff aggravated the hissing animal, which hadn't blinked a single time. Shouldn't it calm down now that the predator was gone? Zahn seemed to feel bad for it, since the sight of Arjun had traumatized it. He wanted to show it we weren't like the humans. The doctor reached out to give it a comforting pat.
Nobody's going to hurt you, sweetie. Did those nasty apes eat your babies?
The panicked animal was still in fending off predator's mode. It was worked up in a frenzy, desperate and aggressive to any movement. Zahn was oblivious to the opening of its mouth. It bit the doctor with tiny teeth, and he grabbed his arm in pain. My gun was readied within a second, and I dispatched a shot through its head. I cursed the Tekken for making me shoot a non-sapient victim to Terran incursions. To make matters worse, any nearby humans would hear that reverberation. You had to try to touch a terrified, helpless prey animal, I sighed. Zahn inspected the two tiny puncture marks.
I just wanted to soothe it, Kalsu. Let me disinfect the wound. Barely a scratch.
My pupil swiveled toward Arjun, who had ripped the tape off its own mouth. Jala was looming over it and pecked at its earlobe to draw a reaction. I rushed over to intervene, pushing the female crocodile away from the downed kid. My curiosity demanded an explanation for the freakout. That was irresponsible of you to run off. You startled that poor animal, I grumbled. All that panic for a rudimentary threat display. Arjun gawked at the marks on Zahn's grey skin.
The snake bit you. Listen, Kalsim. If you don't get him to a human medic, he's going to die. Painfully.
Die? I'm not falling for that,
the doctor scoffed.
Our species actually knows how to treat infections.
We have penicillin too, Dr. Psycho. Do you have no concept of venom? You're going to be paralyzed and unable to breathe in an hour.
It does burn quite a bit, Captain, but I have painkillers. Besides, if I was actually poisoned, this human would want me to die and languish. That's all they're capable of wanting.
Thanks for the thumbs up.
Zahn confessed to localized pain. His arm did look rather swollen near the puncture wounds. Then again, a medical professional should recognize the signs of blood poisoning. I hoped he wouldn't brush off Arjun's warning just because a human passed it along. We do need to keep moving urgently. I'll monitor Zahn's symptoms, and if it gets worse, I'll figure something out. Let's get in a few more minutes of walking, and we'll settle down, I said. We can disinfect your wound, and Arjun's incisions. The predator kid flexed its shoulder with a wince. The crimson blood staining its artificial pelt was drying. It pursed its lips like it wanted to argue, but I waved it along at gunpoint. The human shuffled ahead in silence, not wanting the tape reapplied. The tree cover thinned out, and we pressed ahead for several monotonous minutes. I remained on the lookout for snakes, just in case. It didn't make sense why Arjun would help its tormentor. Also, if snakes were really that dangerous and frightening, why hadn't humans exterminated them? Zahn sucked in a sharp breath, facial muscles contorting. His pace had begun to lag several steps behind ours. He touched the affected area with the other paw and screamed in a high register. Tears trickled from his eyes.
My blood is on fire.
He squealed. The takin slumped against the base of a tree, writhing in agony. Arjun's eyebrows twitched, as though it was in pain itself. Perhaps I had underestimated the scope of human empathy. The best we could hope for after this failed mission was that their murders were less sadistic than Axa Hunt's.
Make it stop.
Zahn shrieked. Jala puffed out her feathers.
Shut up. You're giving away our location.
It hurts so bad. Help me. It's like acid. It's...
The female crocodile retrieved the medical tape, and I slapped it out of her grip with the good wing. She wasn't going to shut Zahn up like an animal while he was in anguish. Losing the doctor was unacceptable. His services were needed for a fine officer's survival. Arjun knelt on its knee and coaxed the takin into a prone position. I knew Zahn was out of it when he didn't resist the beast's contact. The predator was remarkably gentle with its motions. It showed decency to an enemy that did not deserve it, just like my I'm glad I treated their kind with respect, that I didn't make them suffer, that I didn't enjoy their deaths.
Kelsim, we need to get help.
Arjun pleaded. The doctor's grip tightened around a grass clump.
Get lost, Predator. You just want to watch my suffering up close. You're lapping it up.
I don't want to watch anyone die. You're the one who wanted to watch humans suffer up close.
No. Wounded prey smells good. Right. Wait to get your pickings until I'm dead.
We never wanted to eat you. I'm a vegetarian. It's part of my religion. To show compassion for animals.
My eyes widened at its proclamation. The predator had to be joking. It was Federation religions that dictated that preying on animals was greedy, bloodthirsty, and evil. Natural-born hunters would never follow any ideology that demonized their own existence. How did that make the slightest sense?
I thought humans were interesting,
Jala clicked.
but they're pathetic, just like everyone else. Cowering in the face of danger. Religion's about compassion. Crying over people that are dead like it's so sad.
I glared at her. As I've told you from the beginning, humans have selective empathy. Our knowledge of them is evolving, but their expansionism is incompatible with peace.
Don't be fooled, Jala. They're brutal, cunning, and manipulative.
Zahn gasped.
Their history is one of conquest and invasions. Humans cook up new ways to kill each other. Always.
The doctor howled through gritted teeth as a spasm rippled down the affected limb. His pained cry morphed into a full-throated scream. Arjun wordlessly poured some water on the takin's head, trying to cool his burning skin. Somehow, I trusted the predator not to finish him off. My attention shifted to finding an effective painkiller. Before I realized what was happening, a deafening gunshot echoed behind me. Jala was hovering over Zahn, a crazed look in her eyes. The physician's body went slack as blood gushed from his temple. The human gaped as the corpse brushed its leg. I aimed my sidearm at the sociopath.
What did you do? Drop your weapon.
And that's precisely how to shut someone up.
She jerked.
Enough of your games, Calcium. We do this my way now.
Drop the gun.
Come on. You hated Zahn. He was making too much noise. The Predator said he was going to die anyway. Plus, you would have had to stay here and listen to him scream.
This is your last warning.
The human is slowing us down too, and it will actively work against us at every turn. I'm doing you a favor. Make your choice. Me or Arjun.
Jarla swiveled her pistol toward the Predator Kid, who seemed stunned by Zahn's death. Arjun had never seen a creature die in front of it, had it? The words it said about compassion for animals reminded me of my extermination philosophy. We both killed when it was necessary and contained our damage to the rightful sources. Against all odds, I appreciated this predator's way of life. It was honorable and empathetic enough, not yet lost to its destructive instincts. I had more in common with this prowler than Jarla. There was some attachment to it, to him, that I didn't want to watch him die in front of me. I squeezed the trigger, and a succinct pop indicated a successful shot. Shock flashed in the sociopath's eyes before her body crashed alongside Zahn's. The gun slipped from my grasp in a daze. Had I really just lost both able-bodied crew in the span of a minute? Arjun scrambled to his feet, skipping up the weapon. He didn't point it at me for some reason. Blue tacken blood was splattered alongside his own scarlet shade. The little predator flopped down beside the doctor's satchel. You're hurt. We need to treat your wounds and find your father, I stammered. The human didn't respond and merely got to work patching up his own injuries. My instinct should have created an uproar over my proximity to an armed predator. However, I couldn't process fear through the shock. This world of death and wilderness, Earth, could not be my reality. I zoned out, staring into the distance. My story would come full circle if it was ended by the predator I chose to spare. Quite a poetic conclusion. For turning my back on my occupation, the 3 Federation castaways could lie unburied in this infested land for all eternity. Phaon is unconscious and abandoned in this predatory hell. Snap out of it, Calcium. There was a slight cracking sound from above, which broke my trance. Before I could glance up, something rough brushed against my throat. The next thing I knew, rope cinched around my throat in a suffocating knot. My body was yanked upward, and I found myself standing on empty space. I instinctively tried to loosen the noose as my entire mass dangled in its secure embrace. My wings attempted to tread air. Searing, all-encompassing pain lanced down the broken bone. Generating lift was impossible.
Son,
A thunderous voice barked from above.
get out of here and call for help. Narcos is looking for these fuckers.
How had Arjun's father gotten here so soon? There was no way a human predator could have closed the distance without running.
That's
But running
alright.
that long was
Not
impossible,
perfect, but
unless their endurance was nigh divine.
fine for now.
The kid hadn't tired at all either. Oh, sweet Inatala. Arjun palmed his black hair.
Tell me you regret what your species did, Calcium. Please.
Regret? Sure. I always did. Croaked. But it was the only way to secure a future. I did my duty. The human youngling watched as my oxygen supply dissipated. His vicious eyes watered. I knew he was thinking about Bengaluru, contemplating how my orders leveled dozens of cities like it. The poor thing never understood the bleak necessity. The constricting pain centered around my larynx, and my field of vision began to diminish. Awareness was receding, like sinking into a vast ocean. Struggling didn't seem important anymore. I felt like I lived a good life. A meaningful one.
Put Calcium down, Dad. Please.
Arjun's voice sounded as though it came from underwater.
He saved my life from the other two. Multiple times. I don't want him killed.
The adult human growled a reply I didn't register. Its voice was charged with bellowing savagery, a preview of what Arjun would sound like at full maturity. I didn't want to transform into an unstable beast, constantly beleaguered by the need to chase. That sickening development was the reason why pups were supposed to be exterminated. The kid offered a plea that was incoherent as my eyes fluttered shut with grim realization.
The rope released its grip, and I plummeted back to the earth with a muted sensation. The little predator poked at my beak, but I couldn't move a muscle. The world faded away, leaving me helpless at the paws of the warlike monsters.
Alright, that's this for the night. I don't want to do tomorrow. Tomorrow's not a day I want to do, but I haven't got a choice. I mean, there's always that choice, but that choice is not today's choice. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. I hope you had a productive evening, and I will see you once again. Bye-bye. And I hit that button, and I hit OK.